Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome Charlotte. Pop your name in the chat, those of you who are already here. I don't know how you've been feeling, but I thought that I might just briefly share what's been going on for me. I have been exceptionally challenged in my level of energies, really. So I've done a lot of sitting around and doing nothing, despite the fact that I have sort of interjected that with exercise and going to the gym and doing a lot of writing, and doing a little bit of, in and out with things to do. But it's been quite incredible. A lot of people will be feeling this through the body. As I posted something the other day about this nervous system upgrade, this tingling through all the nerve endings, through the scalp and through the skin, that's very much to the fore for more people now. And for me today, I've had this um, a pain in my neck, like I've pulled a muscle in my neck, which I haven't. But that's how I've been. So I've been just in this total lethargy, really, and so that's been my physical energetics, and then I have been emotionally, I have vacillated from being in total bliss, just total bliss, to just being crying. And so we have been in these massive releases, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll just say hi to each of you here. So hello Melanie, and hello Ciela, and thank you Ciela. I was going to send you a message today. Thank you for that lovely gift, and thank you, and hello Diane, hi Natasha, and hi, champion for the cause, Andrea, I think. And hello, Angela. And hello, Fiona. Yeah, roller coaster. That's a really good way of describing it, Fiona. So for me, I want to say, if I was to find a metaphor for it, I could find several. And one of them is a bit like those, let's see, there's this playground carousel, I don't know what it's called, and I don't even know if they have them now, but they did when I was a kid. Those rotating discs with bars on them, and you could get on and hold on for dear life. And the where I grew up anyway, it was the big athletic boys, and they would get that thing spinning so fast you'd have to hold on for dear life. And that is kind of what's been happening for us in our cells. And then we've been going through these waves, and so that's come through as an energy. It's come through in a higher frequency. The oscillations are amazing, and that's bringing us into this purification. And so that can be, like we've always talked about this, working with the water, right? So are you riding the wave? Are you being washed over and dumped on by the wave? Are you diving under? Are you immersed? That's the emotional body. We're having huge transmutation through our emotional body, that because it's this deep purification. That's what we're experiencing at the moment. And that to me is showing up a bit like, I think I spoke about this another time, like the sandwiching of the dimensions. So, we're here in this physical reality, but many of us are now operating in a higher dimensional frequency. And it's been this sort of sandwiching, and so the sandwiching is this purification. It's squeezing out what is of lower density, lower frequency, lower vibration and resonance. And so that's coming up. So I was like crying, and I don't even know. I don't even know why I'm crying, but I had tears, and so I just let them come, and I would ask, and I didn't get shown or told what they were about, but yeah, crying on and off. And it's not that I didn't get some indication at some point, but a lot of the tears were coming from, I don't know where, but deep and old. And yeah, I think at one point I had these tears that were in connection to my DM, and it was like something popped. It was interesting. It was like some release that was old and ancient that brought ease, actually. And so, yeah, this roller coaster, this surfing the big waves, this being on this spinning, whatever it was called. And so that's what's happening to us. And our cells are in, I can only describe like this. It's an oscillation, it's a speed, it's like they're being turned inside out and flushed with this dimensional frequency that to me is a lot of it coming through as a seventh dimensional frequency. These are these sort of, angelic high frequency heavenly codes coming through and then being illuminated by what's occurring in the galaxy in terms of planets and the moon and the sun and the eclipses. It's a triple whammy that's going on in that regard. So yeah, these are my notes from the 18th. So welcome everyone who's here. And it's incredibly exciting, and it's actually very simple for us to navigate our way. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Oh, another Fiona. Fiona and Fiona. Yeah, so I woke up and I wrote, I woke up on the 18th feeling half dead to the world and in deep sleep in the early morning. So I don't know what your sleep patterns have been like, but mine have been rather erratic. I've frequently been woken up at interesting times on my digital clock, like 3:33 and things like that. So on the 18th, that this is when I was being shown about this nervous system on high alert, because I woke up feeling in that sort of prickly sensation. I had a shower. I still felt like it. I think yeah, I think that's what I wrote about actually when I did that little post, as though I'd had a tapping massage all over my head and all over my body. And so even after I had showered and washed my hair and given myself a vigorous sort of toweling, it was still occurring. So I've been doing some personal work about affirmations and things, writing some of those out. Did some very deep work yesterday, actually, and just allowed things to come and show and breathe through them. So the 19th, these were my notes from the 19th. This day sits in a stillness, a pause, a day for expanding what we have created in the light, to connect strongly to the energy of Creator, to fill our hearts and bodies with this light, for grounding into our own energy base, to send this deeply into Gaia, and to send this love from our hearts out over the planet to wash, permeate, and fill all and any neutral and negative spaces. So be it. So I invite you to be doing that as a part of your daily practice now, to fill yourselves up with that light, to feel it in your heart, to ground it into Gaia, and then to send it out to the world and across the planet to humanity from your beautiful heart. So we're really kind of in the further forays into this reconnection and recollection of our original divine plan blueprints. So this crystalline light within your heart and this liquid light within your fluids, this reconnection or recollection and a reconnection to us as original energies, as original blueprints, as original beings in early times of creation on the earth, and all of this self coming back to now, pulling it back in, calling it back in through time, space, and dimensions to be being embodied and being embedded and being able to be used in this higher frequency, bringing in and collecting and balancing and harmonizing our masculine self, our feminine self, and our divine, holy, golden, Christed child, so that we can really come into the fullness of who we are now in this time by embodying all aspects of self. And then on the 20th, I went to bed really early. I never go to bed early. Well, never's not true. I rarely go to bed early. And yeah, I woke. So on the 20th, I woke up at 3:33 a.m. Feeling very emotional and very teary and sore in the heart space, like very sore in the heart space. Huge heat through the scalp and head and back. So I know that this is to do with our rear chakras. This incredible heat through the back and through the spine. So I wrote in here, I feel the lowest I've felt in recent memory. And I was really in the experience of despair and sadness and crying. And yet I had no concept of why. So I want to say that at the, I don't know if I wrote this in later, but I recognized later that was mine, that was my divine counterparts, and that was some of the energies of the earth and of humanity. So those energies built. So it's interesting because they built with this compression. I could really feel that pressure, that compression. And it was like in the compression, it created these shadow aspects to be coming up to be looked at. So let's see what has happened here for you. Champion for the cause saying haven't felt a purge like this in so long. Being me roundabout, don't know what that means. And then blissed out from Charlotte, tumbling in the waves at times, finally have my head above water. Yeah, good, Fiona. Nervous system being stretched last night, getting sharp spiking pains. Lauren is saying all over the upper body last night. Couldn't sleep till the early hours. Schumann blacked out. Yeah, the Schumann resonance. Oh, the poor Schumann resonance machine. It wasn't designed for this. And so it's been often in blackout. We've had huge energies coming from the sun, but also from the other aspects of our galaxy. This is really what we signed up for, even if we didn't know that we were. And we're really in this collapse of all time into the 0 point. That's where we're in it. Whatever that exact moment is, I don't know. I think it doesn't serve us to get too caught up with the details. We just recognize the movement. We recognize the trends. We recognize that we may each have these experiences and different times and different orders. And so sharing them is good because we can help one another to move through them by recognizing that we're in community and that we're having these common experiences. A timeline shift at the moment, Lauren is saying, yeah, we've had the other aspect of those is actually I had this experience today when I was speaking to someone and I said, because we're in 2021, and she said, we're in what? In 2021? And I went, oh, actually, I'm just trying to search which year we're in. That's pretty amazing. And then I realized, I recognized that what that was is that if you think about, we're in this spiral has so much to tell us. We're in this spiral, and it's like, I don't know where this came from, but it's like we were today at some point, which might relate to your timeline shift, Lauren. It's as though on the spiral we were here, and so this is 2021, and then we've moved around and we are in the same place on the spiral, just two rungs up, two levels up, but it's in exactly the same vertical position. So that's what I get from my slip of the tongue. We're in 2021 today. Yeah, so Fiona's got weird sleep things going as well. Charlotte couldn't sleep, got up and had dinner early at 3 a.m. Hi, Billy. So we're a bit all over the place at the moment. It is as though many things are coming into this point of transition, this point of transmutation, this gradual merging of this fifth dimensional frequency. And I've written some interesting and newer kind of out level of that. Yeah, so those feelings for me on the 20th, they had lifted by about 1 p.m. But it was really interesting how I was in them almost to the minute for 12 hours. My sense of it was that there's no doubt that, those were all of my own shadow aspects to look at, to absorb, dissolve, breathe through, integrate. But also that I was experiencing this processing on behalf of the planet, the sense of compression, the squeezing from the fifth dimension down into the third, the sandwiching into the fourth. And for me, that's what we're clearing. It's like the energies have dissolved and are in the midst of dissolving the three-dimensional frequency resonance aspects. And, I'm not saying it like that, but we're in the movement of that, the dissolution of the three-dimensional world, the dissolution of the matrix, what holds us in that lower dimension. The fourth has come in like this filtering kind of aspect coming in, and the fifth is bringing us to a point where we are being asked to kind of deal and transmute with those. And so this is the squeezing in the middle effect, this further purification of the planet through the eclipse and or the shadow of the eclipse. So we are kind of together, we're doing this observation, this feeling, this experiencing as a collective, especially as an awakened collective, and we are creating movement for breaking out of this old world, the old matrix. So we are now in the process of creating and dreaming up our own reality, but it's these incremental steps that we're doing in the dissolving, the purifying, and then the dreaming up, the bringing in. So we're in this exceptionally strong dissolution of the matrix. So we can come into this collaboration as community and create from our hearts. And we're coming into this real powerfulness of that. Oh, there's lots of people in here. Hello, Natasha. Natasha, 333, 414 and 555 last night. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Very odd sleep patterns being me is saying really hot, even went outside for a bit. I have been blown away by how hot I've been. In fact, I looked to see if I'd accidentally turned on a heater because I was so hot, and I just felt like I had massive heat pads all the way up my back. Craig saying his TF connection began falling apart around this time in 2021, and the recent purging has been specifically focused on the TF connection. That makes sense. That makes sense, Craig. I have written lots of bits about the whole divine counterpart journey, but I haven't put them into one place yet, and so that's will be my job tomorrow. But yeah, it's really interesting. So I would say in general that what is happening is that the DF and the connection, and maybe that's you, Craig, maybe you're the DF and your connection is doing a lot of transmutation of these energetic arisings. So yeah, I know I won't get caught up in that, but that's what I feel. The divine feminines have been doing a lot of transmutation on behalf of the divine masculines, not because they're incapable and not because it's we're taking their job or interfering. It feels to me like there's these finer nuances of the contract going on at the moment. But I won't get sidelined by that. So we are in this exceptionally strong dissolution of the matrix taking place as we speak and throughout this time. We are going to this higher dimensional frequency. It's a vibrational shift, and it is being created from frequency and envisioning this attraction and vibrational matching. So it's like you sitting in your heart, having dissolved some more of your density, able to hold and pull in more light and higher frequency that allows your heart frequency to come up, that allows you to become more illumined, that allows you to have a resonance vibration that attracts more of the same. And so this is it's so hard to describe, but this is what I was being shown when I said to Gaia, okay, so specifically, where are we going? Because lots of people want to know that. And we're not physically traveling anywhere, but what we are doing is, if you imagine that you are, and you're not, but if you imagine that you're in this sort of band, and that band has is us on the earth, and you might say that we have several bands, but let's say we're all in one band. Let's look at it that way, that we are creating within that band. So imagine that that's the Milky Way galaxy, for example, and that each of us is a star, and that each of us as that star is creating fifth dimensional vibration, frequency, and in the movement of that vibration, it attracts more of it. So you become more saturated in that fifth dimensional energetics, and the three-dimensional energetics get dissolved out, and then it's like it attracts more of it, so it becomes more saturated. It's the old lemon juice story, lemon water story that I've been telling. So it's this creating from the frequency, envisioning, attracting a vibrational match, the saturation and level of saturation of the photonic light, which you could see as the lemon juice. And each now moment to the next. So it's like we are next, and we're doing that through each breath, through each heartbeat, through each pulse, energetically, and through the blood. And the fluids are the that's where we're coming into our crystalline light, the DNA activation. There is a lot going on, and we're really seeing this showing up now in our faces, I believe. So all who are ready, all who are sequenced to this expanded space of knowing, this is us in readiness. The soul contracted for that, and this blissful, light-filled, a little dreamy at times, and how it showed up to me when I asked, how did it look? It's interesting because it was showing up as this very pointy star that looked as though it was made of white glass with some blue in it. So imagine that each point of the star was made of clear glass. So it had a wall on it, right? And then inside was filled with this blue, this very powerful, like a sapphire blue, like the sort of blue in this pen. So that, and very pointy and very long. So a 5-pointed star, that's how it was showing up. This 5-pointed star made of glass, and we're putting those two edges of the star. So this is our light body, this is our illumined body, poking them down into the earth a bit at the moment to help ground this in more. So imagine, you're like this giant starfish. So it shows up as this white, very pointy, white, blue, crystalline star as we assimilate, as we image, transform, merge, transmute, and alchemize. That's where we're going, or that's how we're looking. And there's this sort of new concept about our ascension, that it's available to us in our consciousness now, and that each of us individually can be in that place, and then collectively we can be in that as a group or as a collective, and then as humanity, and then for the world. But it's like when I said to her, when are we going? She said, now, always. We are there now. Inner, outer, upper, lower. So all of these sort of contrasts. So in these contrasts, we're coming into the 0 point. We're collapsing into the 0 point through all of these aspects. And the more that we do that in ourselves, the more it has this impact on the rest. So this spiral, so the spiral is the flame of ascension, the flower of life, which some people are saying it's a closed circuit. And I wasn't going to mention that because I thought, that'll just get into a debate. But I'm fine with debate, except that it's a bit of a side movement from what I was going to talk about. But to me, the flower of life is in constant motion. So it's always, it's like it's always turning inside out. It's always moving and growing and replicating. And so when I painted this from seeing her in the cave, like there's so much symbology in here. But this is the triple helix DNA on the inside that links to the ascension spiral. We are coming back to having our DNA reconnected through this light, catalyzing through the blood, through the fluids in the spine, and then the ascension flame and the flower of life and all of this coming in through the various lights and codes. This in here, the star tetrahedron golden Gila crystal, this represents the masculine, feminine, Merkaba. This is the crystalline here in her heart. That's a crystalline spherical flower of life. It glows, it moves, it sits in a cavity in her body. Her eyes are crystalline, emerald and sapphire, they're blue and green. Her hair is crystalline. She is naked because of her level of purity and innocence. She is the goddess. This is the pond of purification. This is the waters of consciousness. Yeah, many aspects that are sitting here in this imagery. And so we're very much in this sort of flow of the waters of consciousness, this bringing in this illumined self, this reconnection of DNA. It's all happening very, very quickly at the moment. As one expands, arises, and unfolds in levels of consciousness to access rememberings. So it's not my poor grammar. Gaia has always called this the rememberings, and I think if I ever write a little book of writings from her, I'll probably call it that, the rememberings. But this is us coming into our rememberings. So these are our soul stories, our soul history, the beings that we have been throughout our experiences here on this planet, ostensibly in this now moment, but we can maybe manage it better by thinking in lineal and then applying it to quantum. We're definitely moving in the quantum now. We're in this disentanglement. That's how I see it, this disentanglement of what is in the quantum so that we can be expanded within it. It's like undoing the old so it can be reconfigured. So we're flowing through the energy. It's an interesting concept. So let me know if it makes sense to you. It's like we are flowing through consciousness, this flow of energy that represents consciousness, and consciousness is flowing through us. It's the inner and the outer, the upper and the lower, the inversion and oscillation, all of that in the same thing. Donna Jean, hello. Woke up at 4:14. Holger, you're amazing at placing into phrasing what takes me a whole paragraph. Your vibration determines your world as mirror for truthfulness within your mastery. Majesty is frequency. That is the quintessential essence of what I've been trying to say. So thank you. Cat's being kicked out of bed. Tim McKee, hello from SC in the USA. Not sure where SC is. Yes, as flowers do flower. So I imagine that many of you are having this kind of overheating experience in the body as we do this transmutation. And then today I wrote, we receive this cosmic light. Oh, see, I feel all touched about this. We receive this cosmic light and higher frequency to expand and accelerate consciousness, to usher in new foundations for transformation of our new earth. And this is our immediate process. And this is the light language that comes with that. Ikia kana'a shi'ata. Ikia kana'a shi'ata. These are also, I want to say to you, if you are starting to see, or if you already do see, that I got shown today that, so I see and visit energetically, etherically, however, the crystalline temple. So one of the jobs that I've been given by Spirit is to paint the crystalline temples in the etheric. And what I saw this morning is that more of us are going to be able to see them. So I was always shown that they would sort of drop back in as we rose up, that they'll be rematerialized. It's not true and exact to say rematerialized, but our vibrational frequency will come into an alignment that synchronizes with the vibrational frequency of the crystalline temples that currently sit in the etheric. And so I was shown today that, there's going to be greater access to those. They're beginning to come closer, to shift more, and for us to shift more, to connect. In the process of orchestrating the imminent reveal is the word that came. So here we are in further development of our dimensional sandwich with higher keys and codes creating purification and transmutation. The floodgates are open for receipt of these magical energies into us and into our earth. What is it, and what does it need for whatever comes up and arises in you? That is your question. What is that, and what do you need? Examine and analyze it through your sensory body. Feel, heal, and deal. That's quite a nice little rhyme. Feel, heal, and deal with it. And soothe and smooth. That's another thing that I often get. What is it? What does it need, and what do you need to do to bring about healing and integration? So this is your conversation with self. And you could say that in our current space or phase, we are in autumnal energies. And so this is a metaphor that Gaia was giving. This is unrelated to hemispheres and weather or climate seasons, but references the old dying off and being released, our new energy to be created based on higher love. Think deciduous trees, think the maple tree. Leaves are brown and dried and then released, and they decay to become a part of the humus or the humus for regeneration. And we're in the midst of this. We've got the assistance of a lot of fire energies at the moment, through Aries, through Jupiter, this purification that comes through the incineration or the burning from these fire energies, and all of this is making way for our new foundations and these new energies on our earth as they become transformed and we become transformed from being Homo sapien to Homo luminous. So we're kind of sitting in the midst of this old idea that is old here, like we've been speaking about this for a long time, but this idea of being the observer, of sitting in the midst of it and not getting caught up with it or in it, but to just observe it, to be in peace and ease in the heart with it. So we're in this time at the moment where it's speeding up. So we're in this rapid acceleration that's going to kind of fire us up now, through to the end of this month into the energies of May. And we're really just going to have these successive astrological alignments and various energetic portals, gateways that allow us to become more of who we are becoming. And so, through the illuminated gateways of the 11, for example, that is what many of us are either holding space for, opening doors for, or assisting others through these ascension gateways that we're rising to and moving through. And so the absolute guidance is always to come to the heart, to recognize your own beauty, your own essence, to be with the breath. To be in each now moment, allowing each now moment to unfold to the next, whilst being intentional, but intentional in this next moment. And so just calling in your own creation in each now moment. But because it's so fast, and because it's becoming even more accelerated, and we're dealing with this deep and intense purification, and we're dealing with, learning to navigate all of this new, that's all that we can really do, is to be right here in this now moment, letting it unfold, observing it, holding this beautiful love in your heart, knowing that your body is being in its total transformation from this carbon based body into this crystalline liquid structure. And that our old gifts and our old talents and our old stories are all coming up. And so just allow the stories to go. We will write new stories, and the old stories will hold us in the past, and what we need to do is be releasing in each moment. If you haven't gone and done the meditation that I put out, I don't know, 5 or 6 days ago, that's a really nice guided journey to process the release of the old paradigms and old patterns so that the new can come in as we are arising. And so we're doing this sort of multi-dimensional aspecting of coming into self and rising up and grounding in at the same time as we are emitting out this light, this resonance, this frequency to assist our planet to ascend into this fifth dimensional space, so we don't go anywhere, although we are moving further into the photonic belt. And we still may have that shunt, but we're ascending moment by moment in our physical form. And when this great wave that comes across, which is still predicted, let's say, this still seems imminent, it could happen at any moment, then that is going to create this ascension micro moment where, so how it shows up for me, which many of you will already know, this narrative that Gaia gave me a long time ago, is it will wash over us. It will have this effect that many of you, if you're like me, have been having these little mini experiences of. So when these energy waves come through, for me, it's like, oh, I can just feel them just shutting my system down, and I just might need to sleep for a few moments or even for a few hours as our energetic bodies are being upgraded, our DNAs are being, stranding is being reconnected. And so that may be happening a little bit at a time in the sequential motion. Our bodies are being alchemized. We're becoming these homo luminous beings. We're becoming these light beings. It's not that we're going to lose our physicality in the immediate future, but we are becoming more light filled. We're becoming more of our own mastery, and coming into this season, really, we're in this ascension season. And so when this bigger light comes through and it feels like it is imminent, we're getting bigger and bigger emissions from the sun. We're also getting energies that are coming in through, as I mentioned, some of these other gateways and portals. This will enable us to be kind of replugged, if you like. So a bit like changing from our normal domestic electrical phase into three-phase. That's kind of what's going to happen in our body through the magnetics, through the electrical energies that are coming in. The magnetosphere in our planet, around our planet, is in this constant state of flux. That's the same in our energetic fields, and it's very exciting, and it's coming in through many different ways, and we're having some little tastes of it one day and then a flood of it the next. Let's see. Tim saying, learning more of my past lives is crucial, I believe, for what I am to discover and finding my path and calling. SC is South Carolina. Yeah, and as Tim, as you become more reconnected to your higher self, your soul aspects, then you'll find that starts to come in dreams, or that you'll bang into people who can help you with that. Because a little while ago, I was showing how we were having these lotus flower connections through our higher heart, which is where our connection to the our divine purpose and mission sits, and then through the lotus and back through the dimensional um, shifts or ways to the Akash. That's how Gaia explained it to me, that people were having these seals broken so they could more easily and readily access their own Akash. So I've been working in the Akash for a long time now. And certainly in my work with clients, we're going back through to really old ancient times where people are being shown to have been these remarkable early creators here in our world. Um, Lots of emerald light, Leah is saying, in and out of your heart, and really heated while others around her are cold. Yep, and required lots of naps. So yeah, the emerald light. So the emerald light, comes in here as well. So there's so many stories for me to say and tell about the cave. I've watched these giant ants moving the adamantine crystals that were holding our upgrades for this time. That was a pretty interesting story of had a conversation with a mantis being who came to hold space for Gaia in the cave. Here is the emerald, here is the sapphire. These are two very strong lights and codes in our world at the moment. And the emerald really strongly sits in here like this big faceted emerald disc at the moment. That's what I am watching that be illuminated. Yeah. Any questions while I am here? Let me just think if anything else has come up. Oh, so part of what's happened is that the elementals are becoming more enlivened, right? So they in my view, they have sat very much in the fourth dimensional frequency in our earth, and that has maintained their invisibility to us. But they are coming into this, and it happened, if you remember, and I don't, and I am just so not connected to the clock. It's pretty crazy. But whenever it is that I came across that giant in the earth, and that was the beginning of the awakening waves for the elementals, so they could come into their more safety, really, that they could begin to be seen and be visible, and not just to us but to the world. So this is very much coming online now, if you like. This ability, many of you will have that ability to connect with the elementals, the fairies, the gnomes, the fae, and also you might have noticed the birds. So the birds, to me, I've always felt the birds lead the way dimensionally. It's like they disappear through a dimensional wall. But they are singing, and they are bringing lots more messages. They're much louder. And then there is the devas of the crystals. So quite a long time ago, Gaia spoke to me about the giant crystals in our world, the big, big stones in our world, that the devas in those were being awakened, and that as they awakened, they would enable the awakening of the crystals through to the smaller ones, and you might be able to access those in your own crystals. It's certainly something that I've learned that I can do. But we are really in this very exciting, amazing, spectacular space of internal transmutation coming into our illuminated, more crystalline liquid form, able to access more of our gifts. And And this, the whole elemental thing as well, has been showing up as people's wings being activated through the shoulder blades, the collarbones, and these points in here. And some of you may also experience that as pain in the backs of the neck. So what I saw with that was that people who'd had experiences as giant bird men or bird beings, the wings had more connections because they were heavier. So yeah, this might come as well. Ask to be shown who you are as an elemental form. Ask to be shown if you've been a bird person or an angelic, and many of us came in those early forms as angels to bring creation codes, the emerald creation codes, the sapphire codes, the I guess you could talk about that being the codes that come through with Michael, Lord Michael, or Archangel Michael. So there's lots of interweaving coming in at the moment. I certainly don't have the whole picture, but I'm happy to share what it is that comes, and there's definitely themes that come. And so this remembering of who you were as an elemental, call that in your dream time, us to be shown. And we're moving into quite magical times in many ways. So the what I want to say is, so out here is this bit of reality that people would say to you, "Oh, get real, that isn't going on." So out here is that bit of reality. It's real, it's occurring, but don't give it any energy, because everything you give energy to expands. And it's that whole thing about energy flows where focus goes. So you just observe it, and then you put your energy to something higher, better, more useful, more potent, more pertinent for us as humanity, as a planet, because we are in our ascension process. And the more that we have our focus on this beautiful heart resonance, this higher love, the more quickly we will transform and call in or the energetics will call in what we need to remember, what we need to know, and our divine counterparts. That creates another exponential wave of love across the planet that creates another ascension moment. And so it's all working in the micro and the macro, and I guess the syncopatic, symbiotic nature of us as body, planet as body. And I think that's really the best way to explain it. So yeah, you just notice it going on, and you don't give it any energy, good or bad. So I find myself going, oh god, that wackery. Wackery and fackery is a new term that I've decided, and there's a lot of that going on, and so we notice it enough to not give it any energy, to rise up above it so that it can be dissolved. Okay, so that if we put energy into it, whether it's going for it in agreement or against it, that energetic feeds it. So whether it's a positive or a negative energy that you're putting to it, it expands it. That's my understanding of it. Oh, a human-sized owl, Tim. Wow, amazing. Yeah. So I've seen people as these bird, in their soul history, as these bird beings that are bigger than any bird that I've ever seen. They're just huge. And our ancient world is coming more, or we are becoming more adept at accessing it, or it's becoming more available as we rise up in our frequency. So there's a lot for us to learn about the history of humanity, about the history of our planet. And I want to say to you that in my view, and you don't have to do anything I say, but in my view, we're in this place where there's so much happening. energetically. There's so much happening informationally. There's so much happening transformationally that it is about being in this moment. It's about, I loved how Gaia said to me, just hold the truth like this. It might be that, it might be that. It'll show up when it shows up, not to get caught up in that. And these two lessons that she has been, speaking to me about for humanity in the last few years, this give up the need to be right and give up the need to know. There's so much freedom that comes with that when you don't feel that you have to have someone hear your opinion, where you don't feel that it's your job to convince somebody else to think, believe, be like you. So just hold it all lightly. Well, it could be this, or it could be this, but it'll show up. Because anything that is false, anything that is of a lower vibration and frequency, anything that does not hold truth, it's going. Its frequency is going to be dissolved because, as I said a while ago, anything that is not of truth cannot be held in this higher frequency. So this is why we're going to be seeing these news revelations. This is why we're going to be showing these things that have happened in our recent history. And more of that is showing up in the news, in the mainstream, because it cannot be hidden any longer. The truth will come out. The clarity will bring it. The truth will be held in the frequency. The lies, the fake, the false will all be dissolved. That includes the veils. That includes the veils that have been deliberately manufactured and manipulated to create programming and thinking and beliefs in us that all of us will have to a greater or lesser degree. And so we're in this process of those being dissolved, and it may be challenging it will be challenging. It'll be challenging anyway, but don't let it be challenging by being caught up with, do I know it? Do I not? Is it right? Am I right? Are they wrong? That duality serves a purpose of contrast to illuminate what is, to collapse into the 0 point. But there's a lot for us to discover. Don't get caught up in it, is what I would say. Be in the amused observation. That's how I would see it. And there's a lot of ease that comes with that, I have to tell you, when you can just let that go. You can just be the observer. Lots of people have seen owls of that size. Andrea's saying, hello, Jen. Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's right, the controlling of the chaos. So that's a really good point, Jen. So we are probably in the midst of observing chaos now, because the chaos is like the breaking point. Things become chaotic before they fall apart. And so this fits into the narrative that Gaia gave, I don't know when, a couple of years ago. It's taken a bit longer for us to get there, but you can see that we're in that grouping: health, pharmaceutical, government, banking, right? That's the group that would collapse. And so, we are seeing documents come out from Pfizer. We're seeing a lot of people around the world using the Official Information Act to get access to documents, to memos, to things that have been written by various governments or corporations or CEOs in one area to another, in terms of money changing hands, in terms of contracts, in terms of agreements that really, we might have thought once were in the scope of a democratic look at. And a lot of this is coming out. We're going to deal with a lot of cognitive dissonance in the community. And so just allow it. Just allow for people to have their view. Don't try and convince them. It's a really futile loop to get into. People will see what they see when they are ready to see it. So if you think about some of the decisions that people have made for themselves and their families over the last few years, and that right now we're in a time where there will be more and more consequences showing up, and then evidence that people were coerced and duped into making various decisions. So I want to say that that's going to be very confrontational for people. It really pulls me in my heart when I go to that place. But then I go to higher, and I remember that we all contracted to be here, that our soul has a, this probably isn't true, but this is my metaphor for it, an engraved date on our ascension. We have already contracted to that and how we will do that. Remember that many people will leave. There will be many souls who contracted to leave, to lift the density out of the earth so that we can ascend in a more easily, more quickly. That there will be many drop-ins, walk-ins. That's another aspect that I've been shown, that when we move. So let's start here. So over here, a lot of souls are going to leave the earth. They'll go through a process off planet and return. GAIA has said 70% of the population will ascend, but not everybody will ascend in this physical form. So we are doing, and I know I've repeated this a lot, but we're doing something that has never been done in the history of the omniverse before. We are ascending into fifth dimension by taking it through in physical form. Our soul is not leaving our physical body to have an ascension experience and then come back, or to move into being a light body. We're becoming illumined. So we're still in physical form, but we're holding more light. And so 70% will ascend, but not everyone will ascend through this, taking the body with us. So that is something that is, I guess, a privilege, a gift, a reward for having done your work. And then when we've moved through to that, then many will drop back in, they will come in. And I see that, and millions, we'll have millions come in, will be bigger, I believe. I don't know what will be as a population then, but millions will come in. And then I don't see them, though, all coming in through the birth canal. So that's what I've always seen. I've seen beings coming in their adult form, like they are a parachutist dropping in, but they don't have a parachute. And so I see them coming in as children, as adults. There'll be beings that return who will be familiar to you, who might be precious to you, and they will return in their adult form. So I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but we're very close to that. We're releasing the shadow from our planet as well as from us. It's the micro and the macro. We're illuminating ourselves. The planet's being illumined. We're recalling our old codes from the original creation times, coming into our original divine plan blueprints as planet, as humanity. And it's exciting. All right. Oh yeah, well done, Tim. It's a really big lesson. I remember as a teacher, I read, what was it I read? I think I read a Deepak Chopra book, and it was the 7 Spiritual Laws for Success. And I thought, all right, that's a lot to change. I'll just do one at a time. And so that was the first one that I did. I gave up the need to be right. And it was really interesting because I was in a staff room where there was always vociferous debate, and it was really exciting because it was never personal. It was always just exceptional debate. And I realized that when I stopped kind of being opinionated, separate to that debate, but in that climate, that people assumed that I felt, thought, and believed the same as they did, which was an interesting observation. But that was the first one of those that I tried. Addicted to food, hummus. Yeah, thanks, Lauren. Yeah, lots of food changes at the moment. I've eaten a ridiculous amount of vegan ice cream. Honestly, I'm a bit embarrassed about that. But I've been eating vegan ice cream and a lot of fruit. And I made some soup. But I've been eating very lightly and sort of just grazing on fruit all day and night. Lauren's saying ego deaths in order to learn how to surrender and allow and operate from the heart space. Yeah, that surrendering it's a big one for a lot of us. How do you surrender? It's all very well to say that word surrender, but how do you do it? And then I certainly remember going through that phase when a friend said to me, "You just have to." I was in excruciating pain as I was going through this big dark night of the soul, I guess. And I said, "I get it. I just don't know how." And I didn't. And it took me a long time to be in process with that. And so that sort of breathing through it, that talking to self, that dropping from the head to the heart, to me, that's the art of surrender, is to bring your focus from the brain. And many of you will have exceptional brains and very quick minds, and they are brilliant tools to use, and they're not to be abandoned. But it is useful to drop that energetic focus from the brain or the mind into the heart, and then allow the mind to be used as a tool. Don't discard it, and make your decisions through your heart and be in the feelings of the sensory body. So how do I feel about that? Where do I feel it? Don't give it a story. Okay, give it a sensory response. Look, feel for the sensory response. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Angela. You're welcome. Yes, great. That's great. Thanks, Tim and Lauren. Being me, eat. Yeah, I think my neighbour gave me a whole lot of feed jars. I reckon that over the past 3 days, I've eaten half a bucket of feed jars. Being me, using sound from me has been big this week to release the real old latest. I don't know what that is. Yeah, sound is good. Even just if you don't have a sort of good safe space for that, then get in the car and get on an open road and wind up the windows and open your mouth and see what comes. It's a great release. And also there's beautiful sounding that can help with resonance and frequency. Michael Tyrrell, he does he's done a series of hertz frequencies. I'm pretty sure you can find him on YouTube for balancing your chakras. Holger's saying, surrender no expectations while living in the now for your life itself. You are so amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that no expectations, it's a biggie, isn't it? And it's a constant reminder of me to self. Expectations of self and expectations of others. And I've had a few feedback loops and tests of that actually in the last couple of weeks, and I've thought, oh, well done, Sharon. That I yeah, and even sort of speaking those things out loud. So something happened in our family, and somebody said, well, wouldn't you have been annoyed if you didn't know? And I said, no. Oh, actually, no, it doesn't matter to me. I will have been told when that person was ready to tell me, and it's absolutely fine. I don't have any expectation of that. And I, in that experience, I thought, oh yeah, that was a good self-reflection to notice that, because I absolutely, genuinely felt and believed that. Divine timing through divine intervention. Oh, yes, there's the good old God, isn't there? The good old God thing and the good old divine creation energetics that's here to give us nudges, to give us a shove, to open things up for us. And it's a beautiful reminder for us to go to that place of this is all divinely orchestrated. And if we listen, if we attune to each moment, we'll be given that guidance. We'll be given the kick in the butt or the push over onto another pathway. You know, we can experience those as nudges or as big slaps. So the more refined we are with the nuances, the gentler the journey is. Leah is saying beneficial to our bodies to eat in season. Yes, that's absolutely true. And our real problem is that we're out of sync with that, because our supermarkets, our fruit and vegetable stalls, they still have things that are not in season because they're imported. And so that's another lot of learning, isn't it? To learn what is in season. Mantras helping me find sound within to let it out. Yes, good, good, excellent. All right, let me see then. I think there might be. No, yeah, lovely to have you here, Tim. Welcome, and welcome to everybody else. And yeah, just feel the excitement of this energy, be witnessing the transformation in self, allow what comes up to be looked at. Know that, this is my lesson as well, that what shows up for you is for you, and that it unfolds, that the universe does things for you, not to you, that everything has a reason, a season, and a rhyme and a time, and that we're learning to be more in flow and in surrender to what is, so that we can release the old that binds us and holds us in this lower frequency, the programming that's come through our electronics, our education systems, the music that we've been exposed to. All of that has been to program us to be smaller. And so we are returning to our amazing, amazing selves that have higher gifts and talents and knowledge, in order that we can explore and express love in the highest form, to create our new world, our new earth. All right. Much love to you all. And I'll see you again soon.